All right. Streaming time. Realize. No, I think we're good. Let's go Nebula. And we'll bump the lightness. I like that. I'm here for that. That works nicely for me. Okay, well, welcome. It's time to stream some programming. And the goal for today is I think I'd like to focus on this truss design program. I think that feels like a good set of things to work on. Although let me see. 1 second here. All right, we're good. All right, so let's keep let's keep building on. Well, what do we want to do here? First of all, I want to make that correct there. Yes, okay, good. So let me excuse me. Let's clear up a few things here. Let me do okay. All right, so one second, let me think about this. So I have this structural analysis textbook, and I'm wondering if there's a seed of useful mathematics in here that I could use to kind of inform what I should put into this program. I don't want to overthink it, but let's see if there's anything useful truss-wise. Perfect. Assumption for analysis of analysis of trusses. So I'm thinking today, really, it's mostly just setting up the basics of a project, getting some basic input-output stuff. Nothing too crazy, really, if I'm being honest. Okay, well, so the basics of a truss. Let's see. I'm just trying to think where I want to start with this truss project. So let's start even more basic. Let's, well, first of all, let me put a little piece of paper in there. What's that called? Bookmark. There we go. All right. Truss CLJ to do design doc for the app. Which, okay, so design. This is an this is an important showcase project for SVG, CLJ, and Forge. I want inputs to be use case, greenhouse, or greenhouse, barn, custom shape, something like that. Use case, let's see. Something like, for this, let's keep it super simple. Let's do simple loading requirements. So example, downward load rec. Other realistic cases according to structural analysis to standard use case, high level dimensions, dims and params. So for example, width, height, material, wood, steel. Those are basically the two I'm thinking of. Width, height, shape, when custom shape, something like that. The outputs should be right. So the user inputs all their spec requirements for the truss that they're designing, I guess. That's the idea. Then the outputs, what do you want when you've designed a truss? Step file, interactive 3D model, either in a native app window or web app view. Assembly drawing package. Example, welding and example, cut list, weld, or attachment list, etc. Whatever. Web interface for config. Something like that. To prototype, I'll use Forge and SVG CLJ to create 3D views and a 2D interactive version of the site. Web 3.js 3D model should be added immediately as the next feature. Something like that. I suppose that makes a bit of sense. It's a little confusing, but I'll roll with it for now. I should also have something like this. This is a planar truss designer. Space truss, plane truss and space trusses are slightly different. Space truss design tool is an upgrade target, I guess. Hey Mike, how's it going? I had a great weekend. I did not touch a computer at all weekend. Spent some time with my partner. It was it was just really great. I had an awesome weekend. We were gonna go camping, bike camping originally, but it was pouring rain on Friday, so we canceled that plan and just had a nice casual weekend instead. Went climbing, watched a movie at a documentary at a theater in town. It was great. It was a really good weekend. How about you, Mike? Good weekend on your end? I hope so. I think to start this whole thing, let's go on and do something like this. It was a pretty good weekend. You spent all day Saturday doing some landscaping at the house, aerating the lawn, putting down seed and compost. Then you took Sunday as a lazy day with the wife. Nice. Well, it sounds like a nice way to spend the weekend. You get some good tasks done on one day and just relax and spend time with those you love on the next. Love it. Glad to hear it. Oh yeah, that's another thing I managed to do. I went thrifting with my partner and she helped me pick out this little lamp. I still have to put it in a nice spot. I still have to make this area of mine not completely devoid of anything. I need to finish up this display piece that I have going on here, hang up the TV, so I didn't get everything done. But I also got a floor lamp that I have to set up, so I got a few nice errands done too, so that's been good. How's your week looking work-wise? Feeling confident in your new role? I hope so. That'd be nice. Let's do today. Set up skeleton of the project. I can do that today. So let's get that ball rolling. How about that? ns truss clj.main. Let's require a few things. So we're going to require, do I want to do it like that? No, I want to do that. Yeah, Clojure, whoop. Clojure.string as string. Oh, no. Oh, let's, a few, tech, requirements and goals for this project. Make a SSR, a server-side rendering app. So no. Oh wait, do I actually want that? Server-side rendering app. I suppose it's not so bad. So no real need for CLJS. Export portions of the design doc as a blog example. Perhaps only the 2D SVG drawing export using the same data model. So can add 3D later. I'm not sure about that one, but I'll deal. You've got significantly less onboarding meetings, which is super nice. You should be getting your first set of tickets tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, that'll be exciting. It's nice to get through all the onboarding stuff, I would imagine. Get into the real, the actual day-to-day of things, right? Onboarding is like, I find it really exhausting and almost this surreal, like, you're at work but you're not really doing work yet kind of thing, but it's still super busy. And yeah, so I always find it nice once that onboarding process is complete and you can kind of learn the ins and outs of the nitty gritty part of what you're doing, right? Oh, that's exciting. Are you getting your tickets tomorrow? That'll be great. I have total confidence that you'll figure out what you need to do. I'm sure you're not too worried about it either. You seem pretty professional, so that's good. What else do I want to learn with this? I mean, I suppose I'll start with the server side rendering and go from there. Glad I at least come across as a pro. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just making really big assumptions, but I mean, you managed to shift into another tech role from one company to another, so at the very least, you're professional enough to land the job, right? That's something. I'm sure you're fine. And I mean, you answer technical questions and have good technical understanding in our chat and everything like that. Yeah, you strike me as like a real deal dev. In a good way. And yeah, I think that's cool. All right. Let's get some of this going, huh? Let me pull in this. It's all Google, baby. Isn't that what being a professional developer is? Just Googling? I kid. There's more to it than that. Okay, so, right. I will be, probably not today. I have this structural analysis textbook that I gotta review how to do, like, planar truss analysis. It's not a big deal. I just need to get it right. I want to implement truss analysis approaches into this project here, but today I'm getting the skeleton in place for rendering out some geometry for truss design in OpenSCAD and or SVG. The purpose of which is to make, the idea is this is a showcase for manufacturers. I want to have an interface where users can put some high-level specs and get out a full PDF of technical drawings for, in this case, it's going to be a truss. Is that ultimately a useful tool? I don't know, but it's a technically oriented tool that should showcase some pretty cool features of the kind of work I'm thinking through. So I think it's useful on some level. You nailed it. It's time for you to apply to your next great dev job. Well, actually, Mike, on that note, I've been thinking more and more about my career approach and stuff like that, and my circumstances have changed. Not for anything bad. I mean, I'm dating someone now, which is very exciting. That's neither here nor there. I'm just happy about it. But I think I want to try and find a dev job, and I don't want to stop doing the design and dev work I'm doing here. I just want to have enough stable income to facilitate continuing to grow my business. I realize I don't like being the super aggressive growth at all costs business type. I want to make something that can be sustainable and useful, and that I can run on my own. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but I think it's time for me to like legitimately start applying for things. That's got me nervous, though. That's the truth of it. Congrats on having someone in your life, by the way. Not sure how new it is. I'm not gonna pry. It's not my place, but I'm glad you found someone. Oh, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate that. I'm not going to talk about it all that much. I mean, I still want to keep private some of my life. I'm pretty open, but I don't need to talk about everything. But yeah, it's been a couple months now, and I'm just very, very happy. Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it. But it changes how you think about your life and career, of course, right? I'm sure you've experienced those sorts of things. Not in any bad way at all. Just as like, oh yeah, now suddenly my priorities are a bit different, and you know, all that stuff. So, dude, if you want help with interviews, let me know. I can quiz you, run you through the paces if you want. Do it applying that comment to your applying for job. Not talking about your personal life. Yeah, no, I got you. No worries there. Yeah, Mike. Actually, that's really encouraging. I appreciate that you'd be willing to help me out with that. I I'll keep that. I will keep that in mind. I'm gonna spend this week really figuring out a little more specifically the kind of stuff I'm looking for, and then specifically what I need to do to get a good position or whatever it is. You know, so I will tap into the resources that I've got available, and your help would, man, that's fantastic. Just thank you so much. I appreciate that. I haven't even asked you for anything yet, but I'm just saying thanks already, because I'm sure I'll need some help at some point. Anyway, excuse me. I think I do need all of these namespaces here. I also want to do that thing where, sure, if I may be so bold as to offer suggestions, I think you would love DevOps, specifically automation tools and deployment tools might be a good place to start. Let me job search suggestions. From Mike. Let's see. DevOps, specifically automation tools, deployment tools. That does sound cool. Might be a good place to start. That's fantastic. I will absolutely look into those. I don't know. See, I would love to be involved in some kind of CAD and engineering type work. I have no idea what that actually looks like in practice, though. That's the thing. But those are, I mean, DevOps and automation tooling makes a ton of sense, actually. It's like tangential, but it can end up being related to the kind of work I'm doing here as well. I mean, if I'm going to continue doing this thing as a slow build of a business of my own, I mean, my other work doesn't have to be related to it, so I can kind of expand my area of understanding. I think there's nothing wrong with that. That'd be pretty cool. Okay, I had another thing here. Oh yeah, Clojure.core exclude import. I think this should work. Famous last words. All right, let me try this. Oh, what did I do wrong here? Oh, oops. There we go. This should work now. I gotta say, the thing I'm a little bit scared about, I'm not worried that, like, I'm quite sure I can eventually find a job. I think I can do that. What I am worried about is that I don't know if I can find a job that won't be slowly soul crushing for me, not in a general case, but like I have such a hard time listening to managers. I don't really abide authority. I've got a lot of personal characteristics that kind of go against what like a really good employee would be like, you know? I worry about that. And I was very unhappy in all my other work, other jobs. I just don't want to be unhappy, you know? So I worry about that kind of stuff a little bit. So that's a me thing I have to worry about, right? I mean, that's just a worry I have, you know? I have a buddy like that. He texts me at least once or twice a year about wanting to start his own company. Yeah. I mean, so that, like, I'm not looking for a job so that I can stay in a job forever. And I wonder if that is kind of a weakness in like, maybe that's not something I should ever tell where I'm applying. I don't know. But I have this low level existential concern, you know, that I that I don't get to live the way I want to live because I need to make a living to not die, and that's a whole other thing. I don't want to overblow problems either. Like, probably I'll be okay, you know, at the end of the day. But it is why I like doing this instead. I like streaming. I like making videos. I like talking about programming, writing about it, learning how to make my own libraries. All of that is great. I just wish that could be sustaining in and of itself. And maybe it can be, and I'm just not pushing in the right ways. I don't know. But I'm not here to complain or get existential today. I'm here to work on this truss design tool. Here to have a good time, here to chat with some friends. So, hey, Matthew. Thanks for the follow. Matthews02. How are you doing? I hope you're well. Appreciate the follow. That's nice. Definitely don't mention it to prospective employees. Not saying to lie or anything, but you shouldn't tell them you want to be a life. You shouldn't tell them you want to be a lifer. Yeah, no, that makes enough sense. I mean, it's kind of pretty normal for people not to stay at a company forever anyway. I don't know. Part of me, I think maybe I'm worrying about certain aspects of things a little too much, you know? I just want to make a difference in the world. I want to be happy doing what I do. I want what I do to matter. And I want to share my work and knowledge with people and have a good time. I think those are fair things to want. I don't think it's wrong of me to want those things. But those things don't necessarily come easy, so that's the part that can be like, oh man, really? Why can't we all just be happy? Anyway, that's a whole other thing. What happened? No such namespace MDL. Okay, fair enough. Why? Nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think there is anything wrong with it. Okay, why is this? What did I do? What did I do? Is there forge anything? Huh. Is this not tangled? Should be. I wonder if I've got some typos or something. Users, Atom, Dev, Forge, Source, Forge, Model.cljc. Oh. how did that end up there? Oh, this shouldn't be here at all. That was a mistake. I remember now. I was going to be adding another feature into there, and I copied something from another section of the code base, and just didn't remember to remove it. So that's what that was all about. Okay, so let's save that. Good old copy paste error. A classic, a real classic. Okay, so this warning must be coming from, let's see. I thought I had handled this inside the import. Yeah, I thought this would get rid of that warning. I guess not. Well, let me add that as a to-do. Maybe I would just rename the function so it doesn't become a problem at all, right? That's not a bad idea, really. Call it load instead, maybe. To-do, change forge.import.image to eliminate warning about import existing. Maybe change import to load. There. That's probably the right way to go. And then I just have to make sure I have the correct verbs everywhere instead, you know? Is load already a thing as well? Now let me now I have to check that. Load. Yeah, it is, of course. Dang, all the words I want to use are already used. I mean, import dash image, load dash image. I don't know. I'll figure that out later. It's in a to-do list. It means I won't forget it. It means I can solve it later. That's what to-do lists really are, right? Is a solve it later list. All right, all right. So let's, to start off with a simple planar truss design, assume that there will be a bottom chord and a top chord. This is at least reliable. This is at least a useful start for a rectangular planar truss. Why am I quoting that? Just don't quote it like that. Typically used inside greenhouse designs. Yeah, so that's fine. That'll be a good start. What is the job of the method you want to name? Well, so it's already named here, so I'm just having this sort of little debate in my own head of inside this 3D CAD library, I have a section that is forge.import.image, and in that namespace I have a function called import. So it's implied by the namespace that it's an image import tool already, So it's either going to, like, you give it a file name or a file URI, sorry, and it loads that and converts it into the model, the internal data structure, so that you can use it in the rest of your model. That's the whole purpose. So load or import both makes sense in that context, right? The only problem is I have this is Clojure.core/load exists and Clojure.core/import exists. So this warning is annoying, and I thought that I could eliminate the warning by having this line in the namespace, but I might just have to figure out, maybe I'm just typing it wrong. So I might not have to rename things. I might just have to see if I've done this incorrectly. That's all. That's why it's on the to-do list. It's not that big of a deal. Unless there's a perfect name for it, other than import or load. Or import dash image or load dash image, because that feels redundant. Because it would be like this, right? If you alias it as img, so it'd be like image/import image is fine, but it's a little bit annoying, you know? Yeah, keywords can get in the way like that sometimes. Yeah, it's one of the tricks of programming, is recognizing that coming up with names can be a challenge sometimes, but that's such is life. It's no big deal. All right, so the truss cord. Right, so let's assume, even before that, I wonder actually if I should have something like Weldments. Use a weldment approach to create a (2D) line skeleton onto which you can place extruded segments. Right, so a weldment data structure needs to keep track of the nodes and edges, joints and bars, basically. The cross-section design of each edge, the material properties of each edge, technically the type of joint at each node. Keep this out first. Keep this out of the skeleton version, at least. Because that might be, this here, the type of joint, doing joint, like structural joint analysis, could be its own entire mini app that you could maybe link it to, right? So joint analysis, that can be like, that actually gets complicated, because you could have combined bolt and welding situations. You could have, well, you have to consider different welding requirements at the joints. You could have straight butt joints. You could have like a lapped weld with vertical and horizontal welds, which have then, depending on the stresses of the tubes or bars, whatever it is, it changes the analysis. Doing a group bolted analysis matters too. All of that is complicated enough that it might be fun to have it as a separate app to sort of showcase more detail about the joint. And it would be cool to almost have them be companion tools, right? Where you could almost link one back into the other, but now I'm getting ahead of myself. So minimally, I think I can represent a weldment structure by a map with a map, and then let's do basically the map itself would be edge list. Is this a good idea? Am I overcomplicating things? I might be overcomplicating things. Joint. And figure out some functions that can build the forge model data from that structure. Start with that. That's fine. Theoretically. All right, so let's start with this anyway. Oop. Clojure. Let's start with the simplest possible thing I could think of. It's the idea of okay. Let's make a function that will just how do I want to interface this? What's the easiest interface? Well, let's do define lattice. Something like that. And the lattice, is that the right word? Oh, it's so clear. A lattice is a post set in which any two elements, x and y, have both a supremum a supremum denoted by x blah y. Yeah, okay. I don't know what this is talking about. I don't necessarily want the mathematical. I'm worrying too much about this. Lattice is fine. It's got dots and it's got lines. That's kind of what I'm after. Very technical of me, I know. Oh, maybe no. Let's be okay. Let's do skeleton instead. And what I want to do is yes, so simple and easy. Yeah, this is man, I love Wikipedia, and I'm not great at like actual high level mathematics, but I love it. But it is not user friendly. Like, you kidding me? Like, look at how many links there are in the first sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 separate articles just in the first sentence of this article, right? Or this here in the definition, 1, 2, 3, 4, right in the first definition there. And then, yeah, anyway, it's very funny to me. But hey, that's the way it is. I'm not going to complain about it. I also don't need to understand everything to still create useful software, which is kind of the beautiful thing about the modern state of our shared internet and knowledge with tech and all that stuff. It can be risky, don't get me wrong. Like, imagine, so this is a showcase tool. Imagine if I sold it as, hey, this will do your engineering for you, and then people started using it to build trusses and stuff like that. That's not a good thing, because this is not like audited or verified. It's just a showcase. But the point is, it's pretty cool that you can still make useful tools without knowing everything. Anyway, I'm rambling. I am rambling. Really, okay, so here's what I'm struggling with right now is how do I best define this skeleton. I think I'm gonna just make it like this. I'm gonna do it's a list of point pairs, so a list of lines basically. Let's start with that, and I can change it up because this is just messing around. Honestly, this is really meant to be simple. I also realized I kind of want to import SVG CLJ elements. I took the liberty of one of the last changes I made to the SVG library. I pulled a bunch of path stuff into its own. I had path tools kind of smeared across a few different namespaces, and I consolidated it a little bit, which I think should be a good thing. Honestly, that should be pretty helpful. I don't know about that. We'll leave it for now, though. No conflicts, that's a good thing. Why do I want to use the SVG library? Because I want to be able to produce visual outputs for both of these things without any issues. I realize, though, that I don't actually have a complete SVG export tool yet. I also think I should get rid of hiccup as a dependency here. Now that I'm thinking about that, although I'm worrying too much about these details right now. Got to get the skeleton in place. That's get the skeleton going, and I can build from there. Hello, please move. There. There we go. There we go. I'm gonna be right back and get myself a little bit of coffee. Won't be too long. All right, here we go. Oh, there's another thing that actually, I just did it this morning. It's there's a federal election going on in Canada, so I actually went and voted, exercising my democratic right as a citizen of Canada. I don't want to get into politics, but it feels good to be able to vote, and it's not like it actually isn't that difficult to do. There's spots nearby, and there's a few ways you can do it. You know, they want you to have ID and proof of residence and stuff like that. But if you can't do all of that, you can get someone to vouch for you and stuff. So, you know, it's reasonably effective. It's certainly not perfect, but managed to do that today at least. So that feels kind of nice. I have some qualms about the party in power that, like, why on earth did they call an election at this time? there are criticisms to be made there, but like I said, not really going to get into it today. I am not so eloquent a speaker that I can say exactly what is best for a country. I mean, who can say, really? But I did a little bit of my part of things today, so that feels nice. That feels nice. All right, so this skeleton, I'm going to treat it as a list of lines. So takes a list of lines, pairs of points. Takes a list of lines, pairs of points, and returns a Weldment skeleton. I'm struggling with this a little bit. Okay, whatever. Let's just do it. Model slash, I think there's a line function. Takes AB, yeah. So let's do zero, zero, 10, 10. Line A 0, 0, 10, 10. That's good. Let's do SCAD slash. Oh. Wait a second. Why is that in SCAD? Sorry, I really need to clean up the Forge library itself. I might be getting a little bit ahead of myself trying to make a perfectly valid model from it all right away, but I do want to keep going, so let's make a little so this points to lines. I want to make a little helper function that for a given list of points, it will... Wait, is that a good idea? I was going to say, you give it just a flat list of points, and then this helper will just partition those points up into lines. But I realized that that's... Like, just use the partition tool on a list of points. That's a needless function. That's not helpful. It's not that helpful, I should say. So here, let's assume coming in takes a list of model lines, Forge lines. So they have this line structure here. Another thing I'm going to do offline to do prototype and write about the most effective data structure for the goals of the project. I'm saying this because I don't know if my initial idea of hiccup style structure is the best choice for a 3D data node, 3D data structure. I am fairly sure I want it to be a graph and or tree with regular nodes, but I wonder if I should then use use Clojure maps. TBD. This is an important design decision because it will change the shape of the transformation tools I build. It won't. I don't know. It feels like I could kind of go either way, honestly. I was starting with the hiccup structures because I'm familiar with them from my SVG library, but it is like it's as if I'm making up my own XML tags, right? Like it's not, it doesn't need to be hiccup because it's not going to export into any valid XML form or HTML form anyway. So maybe I'm needlessly limiting myself here. Maybe I'm making it harder on myself by sticking to that form. The other thing is, if I do use Clojure maps and I need to start optimizing for efficient storage and stuff like that, there are techniques I can use to sort of map a Clojure graph built out of Clojure maps onto some kind of more optimized database. So maybe, I don't know is the real problem here. What I do know is I like using composable functions that work on a fairly simple and regular data structure, and then I just make multi-methods to dispatch on the specific shape types and stuff like that. That makes sense in my brain, and it makes sense, I think, with geometry for the purpose of 3D CAD, where you do want to go beyond just the mathematical sense of a shape, and you want to go, you care about both the topology and the dimensions of the actual shape, right? It's not like everything can be a cylinder. Things have to have form. So, boy, I went on a tangent there. Sorry. I'm really just thinking loosely out loud about what I'm trying to accomplish here. As you can tell, it's a little bit challenging for me sometimes. But let's make this skeleton thing just work the way I want it to. So I've got a bunch of lines. I'm going to start with the simplest possible thing. Let's let a function be a function of a single line where I destructure it right away into it's going to look like this. It's going to be, I don't need the key of the line. I just want this to be keys, point A and point B. So I'm destructuring inside the function signature. I'm destructuring this line data structure right away. So I'm getting A and B, each are a point in and of themselves. And what it's going to do is actually produce, let's see, model slash I want this to just be a visual render of the skeleton. I don't need it to be the final result. That's the thing. So well, let's just keep it really simple. Oh, by the way, this whole thing I want to do as L, so as line. Then here it's model slash, do I have group? I do. Do I want it to be a group? Let's leave it as a group. Nothing wrong with that. Model slash group. Groupu. Okay, so it's a group, and it's a group of what? Come on. Model slash sphere has a radius of 1. Model slash translate. And I want to translate it to I don't remember if nil is a bad thing or if it's fine. I can't remember. Oh, I could test it really quick. I can do scad slash write. Doesn't handle it. Let me add this as a to-do here. To-do. Handle 2D points not having how do I say this? Handle 2D points in 3D contexts safely. If a forge model structure has a nil in Z, handle it so that exporting or compiling something doesn't cause errors. Example, translate expects XYZ, but if given XY causes Z nil, then compiling to SCAD will result in a script that will cause errors. Open SCAD side. So put a lifter 2D to 3D assumption somewhere in the pipeline. I think probably I should have it in all transforms where you can give 2D points, but it will always turn Z nil into Z 0. Or I can throw exceptions when 3D points are required, making it the user responsibility to ensure properly dimensioned points. I don't know. I don't know what the best thing is. I do know I would get annoyed if I had to explicitly coerce everything every time. So what I think I'll probably do is have the assumption baked into the transforms, because that seems like the right place to do it. Although I just would have to make it super clear in the documentation, because I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to do. It's just that the user needs to be able to not, the user should not have to worry about it, I think, is really the goal. So I kind of feel like I should design it so that if you're starting with 2D dimensions and it's coerced into 3D, that shouldn't matter somehow. Ahoy! Doing great. How are you doing? Good to see you see films. I'm also doing great. Good to know that you're doing well. I'm happy for you. That might sound sarcastic, but I mean that sincerely. It's nice to know that people are in good spirits. Right, so there's a big old note to myself. Another thing to handle. the other Clojure developer was on last night. How was their stream? I hope it went well for them. All right, so this group, finally I've been yammering on a little bit. Let me do this now. Let's make a model slash sphere. I don't know what's a good radius. I'll stick with 0.5, I suppose. And then I'm going to thread that through model translate. Let me see what happens if I do. Well, first of all, let's do this. Oop. What happens if I do this? I mean, that's fine. Okay, so I can kind of cheese it here. Yeah. Let's imagine a point 1, 2. I'm concatenating onto that 0. Did it wrong? Conj, I meant. Yeah, that's Z. So it has to be vector, so let me do it this way. All right, translate. Conj, vec, a. Yeah. Conj, vec, a, 0. And then this one's conj, vec, b, 0. Oh, sorry, that's wrong. This is that. So those are, there we go. Now we've got two spheres on either end of the line. The other Clojure dev is back from vacation and streams usually Sunday and Thursday at night in Pacific time zone. Oh, cool. That's good for them. I am usually doing other stuff at that point, but maybe I should make some time to tune into their channel from time to time. That sounds like it'd be fun. All right, so this group needs one more thing, and that is actually L because it's already a group line. Okay, so for line and lines, let's just map. Actually, let's apply model group to the result of map f over lines. Okay, so that's a function. That's a working function? Question mark. Let's start with a super simple truss. Let's do meant Sunday through Thursday. Oh, not just Sunday and Thursday. Wow, that's a lot of streaming. That's nice. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's 5 days a week, approximately. Assuming they can hit every day. That's nice. That's good for them. That is good for them. Okay, so let's def try is going to be map model slash line over the list of, oh wait a second, it has to be map apply model slash line hash there. Now we've got zero zero 100 0. Oh, lost the plot here. Yeah, well, there we go. 0 to 100. You stream 5 days a week. No, I stream 4 days a week. Monday, Tuesday. I usually take a break Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday. So it's 4 days a week. With the occasional extra stream here and there, but lately it's been, it's only been the 4 times, which I think for now is a good balance. I was close, yeah. True, you were close. True. All right. This truss is not going to be totally accurate, but that is actually fine. The X position of this is going to be 50, 67. Yeah? Oh. This actually is going to be 100, 0, 50, 67. And then the last line, I think I'm not typoing this. I might. I don't know. 50, 67. And this one will be 0, 0. Hey, wow, it's 3 lines. Perfect. Okay, so now if I do skeleton of try, that does group the spheres in there. Okay, that's promising. That's looking good. Let's try now scad / cider show of that. Is it going to render? Oh, it worked. How great is that? If I had to build my program in another language besides Clojure, what would I choose and why? That's a good question. Well, I might choose Python because I know a bit of Python and I could probably build something fairly quickly. It also, it would also let me use this program to do the 3D side of things fairly quickly. So Python would be a good choice. But I might choose Rust because it would be a really different language than I know, and it would be really fun and challenging to learn it, and it would be very performant, so that would be cool. Python's also great at calculations and rasterization. That's true. There's a lot of great libraries for Viz and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a good point. But for learning purposes, I might go with something like Rust or maybe even C, but I feel like that's maybe a bit of punishment for no reason. Rust seems good. Oh, there's another language. I have no idea if it would make sense, but I do want to keep my eyes on Julia Lang, which I think is getting pretty popular with engineering types, which seems pretty cool. And this, I like this, reproducible environments, that sort of thing. What about R? No, I probably wouldn't. As far as I understand it, R is basically targeting statistical analysis, right? Which, oh, excuse me, this truss program isn't so much statistical analysis, although if I were so inclined, I could get into statistical structural or statistical mechanics, but then again, I feel like that is a foray into a different topic again. For a simple truss program like this, Python, if I had to do it, if I had to deliver it fairly quickly, because I already know the language, and if I wanted to use it as a learning tool, I would go with Rust or Julia. Those would be my choices. And R isn't too commonly used outside of academia, it seems. Yeah, that's another good point. I kind of feel like wherever R could be used out in the wild beyond academia, I kind of feel like Python is what people would tend to choose. I don't know if that's accurate anymore, but that's kind of that was the sense I got at least a couple years ago. I want to change this up. There we go. Those are the nodes. I suppose that's fine. What about Scala? Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't choose it. But it is on the JVM, right? Yeah. Yeah, so interestingly, like Clojure, Scala has both JVM and JavaScript runtimes, so that's pretty neat. Stack Overflow posts a survey every year that gives a pretty good idea for what languages people use and what for. Here's the survey for 2021 if you're interested. Here, let me do Stack Overflow survey. Oop, that's many years in the future. Let's just search it. Let's read the overview. This is kind of a strange site layout. Am I missing something here? Experience. Years of coding. This is like, so I don't know why I don't go through more of this in detail, because it is really fascinating every year. I need insights in front of the URL. Oh, did I already? Oh, here we go. I already got there. I see. Thank you. Educational attainment, demographics. Wow, this is thorough, hey? It's pretty cool. That's not too surprising. It's probably similar to the total population beyond just programming. Maybe even higher, I wonder. That's fascinating. There's probably a lot of prefer not to say as well, yeah. Yeah, this is true as well. Disability status. See, the thing is, none of these kinds of statistics are surprising. I think they are important to know and to consider. I mean, yeah, I think a more diverse portfolio of individuals as the years go by would probably be an overall benefit to development at large. Anyway. All right, here we are. Let's have a quick little look here. JavaScript. Let's see what the professionals are doing. It's probably not much different. Oh, Python swapped around a bit. TypeScript is up a bit higher. Java dropped down a bit. Anyway, let's just look at professional here. JS, HTML, and CSS. I kind of feel like that's whatever. That makes sense. Python's way up there. TypeScript too. That's pretty popular. TypeScript as like that's pretty cool. I think TypeScript will kind of stick around for a long time, eh? I remember other languages like CoffeeScript and stuff like that, which were like slightly abstracted versions of JavaScript, but I think TypeScript is like a more substantive than those languages kind of were. It's cool to see it sticking around anyway. I should probably learn it. HTML/CSS really shouldn't be counted as a language in my opinion. It doesn't do business logic or anything like that. It's just rendering. I'm kind of compelled to agree with you there. Um, yeah, I would lean toward that for sure. Because I kind of think no matter what language you use, you kind of inadvertently will end up using HTML and CSS, and arguably a bit of JavaScript too. So yeah, they're not strictly a language in their own right. But to play devil's advocate just for a moment, could you not make a similar argument to SQL? I don't know. Where's Clojure on the list? It might not be. Oh, there we go. Way down here. It's below R. That's funny. Oh, it's even below other. It's even below PowerShell. Wow. So I knew that Clojure was niche, but I did not realize it was that small. SQL has cursors and such, though to loop. SQL has cursors and such, though, to loop over data. Fair enough. It is a bit more complex, but I tend to agree with you. The same argument tends to hold. It's like, it's maybe a bit unfair, but in my head, things like HTML and CSS and things like SQL are, you could make a strong argument that they're languages and that they're formally languages of some kind, and I won't deny those things, but they feel secondary, as like you need to know them, but you don't tend to use them on their own. You know, like you tend to use them as a portion of a holistic approach to some problem solving method, and sometimes you don't use them, sometimes you do, but rarely do you use only those things. But anyway, at least that's how it seems. A helper language. That's not a bad way to describe it. Not a bad way to describe it. Oh, Elixir, I always forget about that too. That should be a fun language. Oh, Julia's even lower. Man, I like, I don't know why, but the languages I seem to want to try they tend to be down here. Although wait, where's Rust? It's up there. I should probably try Go one day too. It's worth noting that the data is based on Stack Overflow users who do get the email. Clojure might actually occupy a larger space than is represented. This just gives a pretty good snapshot, given Stack Overflow is probably the most popular site used by devs. Yeah, that's a very good point. It's, what's the general term for that? You're gonna have, inevitably you're gonna run into some sampling bias, because right, you there's no way to avoid that with something like this. Oh, DigitalOcean. My personal favorite cloud platform is DigitalOcean. And the reason is because I think they write very good documentation and very good tutorials and have a nice content presence on the web. That's totally subjective and completely my own opinion, but I like it. Web frameworks, React, that is not surprising to me. jQuery being up there, also maybe a little bit surprising, but it's been around a long time. NumPy, nice. React Native is pretty cool. Pandas make sense. Man, a lot of cool stuff. Git, that's not... Wow. Not surprising, really. Unity 3D, that's... I guess there's a decent chunk of game dev type work. Yeah, that's cool. I am surprised that Notepad++ is so high on this list. Oh no, Emacs is well below Vim. That's funny. Windows. This is not surprising to me either, honestly. It's interesting because as the years go on, you could make the argument that you don't know if you have a Windows platform if you're actually a Linux dev, you know? Because when I had a when I had a Windows machine at work, I used WSL, the Windows subsystem for Linux, for all my dev stuff. So I was basically using a Linux Ubuntu install. Anyway, doesn't matter. All right. Loved versus dreaded. Oh, this is fascinating. It actually has nice syntax highlighting, which is why I've seen people use it. Notepad++, that is. Oh, yeah, so, like, I think it's a great tool. I've used it before as well. I just am surprised that it's as popular as it is. That's all. I know it's good. And, again, none of, like, I am not, like, use whatever tool. Use like a pen and paper if you need to, you know? Like, it doesn't matter to me. The tools are, it's nice to have good tools, don't get me wrong, but it's nicer to solve the problems you need solving, right? So I don't think people should be too fussed. This is cool. Clojure's really up there with a nice loved versus dreaded ratio here. What's the most dreaded? COBOL. VBA, that's fair. I don't love it. What's like right in the middle? APL, Scala, Haskell's close. C++, yeah, yeah, I kind of get that. All right, I've been so distracted. I love it. This has been a lot of fun to look at this, but I do want to get a little bit of truss work done yet. Okay, let me just modify one thing here. Let's do this. There. Okay, so there's our skeleton tool. That's helpful. In my opinion, that's helpful. That's my bad. I'll have fun links I find. I'll save fun links I find for the end in the future. No, what I should actually... Oh, that's a... Here's an interesting idea that I just had. Let me put it in the MISC stuff here. Make a Twitch chat bot tool that pulls all links from chat into a list. Then to close the stream, I can look through them for 15 mins. That's a fun idea. So I'm thinking you shouldn't feel compelled to save links to the end. You should just post them, and maybe I should make that a part of the show or whatever. Anyway, cool idea. Again, it's always true that it's my own choice to distract myself. Everyone can always chat. That's not a problem. In fact, it's what I want. Okay, so we've got this truss skeleton tool. Let's think about... That is definitely a cool idea. Yeah, that might be a fun little side project. Keep it in mind. It's in the scratch pad, so we're good there. Okay, so the weldment feature, basically, I'm thinking of... this is basically how Weldments worked. You made a 3D sketch. Oh, wait, I don't want YouTube, sorry. I want just... let's see if there's images. It's a really powerful approach. Here, this is a helpful example. So these blue lines here... Oop, 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 oop. Terrible. Okay, this is gonna just be good enough. So these purple dots are points, and then the lines, the blue lines are line segments, obviously. And then in the weldment tool, you click lines and pick the profile that will be extruded along that line, and then at the nodes you pick the interface. So you can have you could have an angled miter, you can have a butt joint this way or a butt joint that way, basically. So that's the simple approach to weldments, but they're powerful because you could also do like you can do this, you can do 3D structure design, and you can have it calculate different kind of coping cuts for different forms. So I don't want to go too in depth into exactly recreating a weldment approach now. I'm gonna stick with the planar weldment just for now because I can expand on that later. But what I'm saying is I need a function that will extrude some shape along some line. So that I think is the next thing I want to do, because what I can then do is make a version of the skeleton that takes, well, probably I won't want to do a skeleton anymore. Let's make something extrude along. So I want to extrude some sketch along some line. So let's just start with that anyway. That seems like it could be fine, right? Yeah. Excuse me, a little cold there. Forge.brep. Is that what I want? No, I kind of actually want forge.frep, right? Oops. I forget how this is supposed to go now. How's everybody doing, by the way? If you're new in the viewership or whatever and you want to chat, you go right ahead. I'm using Clojure to make 3D models. I don't know if there's anyone new tuned in and is unfamiliar with what's going on. Feel free to say hi in the chat is all I'm trying to say. I hope everyone's doing well, by the way. Okay, so I actually do have a bit of prior work for this extrude along to work a little bit nicer. Let's see if I remember. It's actually, if I go into SCAD, if I do cider show model slash line 000 10 20 100, yeah, so this function should help me. I need to find the line implementation and go from there. But I'll be right back. Gotta head to the washroom. Won't be long. onward. Wonder. Composites, it's probably composites, yeah. Here, line. Uses the function SCAD line here, which basically works. Well, how does it basically work? A and B are the start and end points, right? That, let's assume that's fine for now. And radius is just the radius of the cylinder that is pushed along that whole thing. So, well, let's copy this and start implementing things around here. So instead of A and B, well, let's start with line. We'll go like that. Get rid of that. So I want to destructure line as the same thing here. I want to do this, but I don't need as L line like that. So I get A and B from a line. So I'm going to extrude along line is the name of this function, for lack of a better name for now. And the sketch is going to be some 2D structure. I don't need R defined here at all. I do this check for, yeah, that, gotta work on that. I don't really love that, but let's go from there. Hey, signing off for the day, Mike. Gotta start thinking about dinner and such. Take care. Check out the YouTube channel for more offline content. Yeah, Mike, thank you as always for plugging the YouTube channel. Another thing I need to start adding some more content to again. It's well, man, my life is full of so many things I need and want to do, but the YouTube channel shan't be neglected. I need to focus on it, but there's some good stuff there already. So yeah, thanks for plugging it, Mike. I appreciate that. And have a good day. Hopefully your dinner's delicious and you sleep well and all that good stuff. Thanks for tuning in. I always appreciate it. Okay. This is a bad design. I don't like this. But okay. If A equals B, fail. Can't do anything about it. Let's do when not equal AB, right? Then you let dx, dy, dz is the delta, yeah, of the delta between the points. Then you find the norm, utils distance b to a. Then the rotation angle, you do a cos dz divided by the norm. Rotate axis, negative dy dx 0, perfect. Then you run a union of those things. So this here, right, what I want to do is, I don't need these spheres. Here, right, I don't need the cylinder anymore. I actually just want to do wait 1 second. Let me check this here. This, instead of calling it norm, I'm going to call it length. Like that. So I actually just need model extrude, right? Element in H. Like that. Oop. Oh, I also don't need to union anything because it's just direct. Perfect. Okay. And the color, I mean, let's just mix it up a little bit. Why don't we? Wait a second. Model color. I forget what I need it to be. RGBA. I think it's... Oop. Yeah, that's right. Okay. All right, so we got the length, rotate, all that stuff. That's good. All right, so length, extrude. I might not need to translate at all, by the way. That's maybe not what I need. Rotate, rotate angle, rotate axis. That's good. Model, translate to B. Yes. All right, and here, I just need to make sure to add sketch to this. Okay, so extrude along line. Let's see if we can make this work. Let's do model slash box. No, model slash rectangle. Well, let's def a simple sketch and try to get this to work. Let's def sketch as model slash difference of model slash rectangle. Yeah. Actually, let's do rectangle tube. It's gonna take a width and a height. No, yeah, width, height, and a thickness. So what we do here now is yeah, okay. Let's just keep this simple. Model slash difference. It's going to be a difference between model rectangle taking width and height. Doing the difference between model rectangle being width, height. The 2C's thickness. Thanks, John. Oh my goodness. That's a thick... Here. Thickness. Like that. How about that? Where was I? This has to be the width minus 2 times the thickness. I'm not going to keep it actually as that name because that's too much to write. I'm lazy. But I love it. I'm here for it. I feel bad for interrupting my train of thought, but it couldn't be helped. You keep telling yourself that, John. I'm just kidding. It's fine. Oh, I forgot to... The problem with engineering is there's often terms and stuff like that where they are like they're quite silly, but like contextually, like if you're talking thickness or whatever, right? It's like, yeah, you can make jokes about it, but if you're like in the boardroom with the project management lead and you're making jokes about 2C's thickness, you're like very unprofessional, but but you're right, sometimes it can't be helped. You just got to make the joke, you know? Job security? No, thank you. Who needs it? All right, so here we are. I've got a rectangle tube function. Hopefully it works. An extrude along line. What I'd like to do now is see if I can get it to work. So let's do def tube. And it's just going to be extrude along line. A rectangular tube of size 2030 with a thickness of 2, and then the line itself is going to be model/line going from 0, 0, 0 to let's do 100, 100, 100. Why not? Okay, that's a tube. It didn't work. Oh, I messed something up here. Let's also make this 100, 20. Let's go with that. Let's try that. All right, let's see. SCAD cider show tube. It's hard to tell, but I think that worked. Let me SCAD slash oh, this should be a private function that okay, let's do this. So spit okay, now we can open, hopefully. Don't need that. Let's see, cd dev truss open tube.scad. Let's wait for that to load. Yeah, fine. There, okay. Oh my goodness, it actually worked. All right, that is very cool. Oh, actually it didn't work. I noticed one little error. So what I want to do here, right, is so here's what I mean by it didn't work. The points that I specified were the origin, so 0, 0, 0 and 100, 100, 100. So it's oriented correctly, but if you look here, its starting position is shifted incorrectly downward here. And that's because I've done an additional translate here, which actually I shouldn't do. So let me just check, sanity check this here. Let's redef tube as this. Let's spit that there, and now let's reload this. No? Maybe? Uh-oh. Did I do something wrong here? Oh, I did the wrong thing. Let's def tube is that. There we go. Oops. Now we've got the right output here. Okay, that's good. So now the tube is starting at the point specified and it's ending at also the point specified. Let's double check again. Let's do let's make this let's make this planar. So instead of being, that's fine. Instead of 100, 100, 100, let's make Z 0. And we'll make X, I don't know, 300, like that, okay? So if we, let me change this, come on. Here, I want to spit into the tube file scad/write tube. There. Okay, we have an interesting conundrum. Here's something I was worried about. The start and end positions are correct, but now I have an orientation problem. The rotation, see, I don't want this tube to be twisted like that along that axis, so that is an unfortunate thing I'm gonna have to take into consideration here. But that really isn't. Let's see. Did I typo something? No. DZ should be 0. So this rotate angle, if I calculate that out manually, so if I do 0 divided by the length, well, first of all, let me do utils/distance from 0, 0, 0 to 300, 100, 0, 316. So that's the length. So if I do 0 divided by that, oops, I have to do it this way. 0 divided by that result is 0, which obviously that makes sense. So now if I do math a cos of that result, get 1.57. Now if I do utils/2 degrees of that result, I get exactly 90 degrees. So that this is where things become tricky. The angle, let's assume the angle's fine. 90 degrees is not, it's not necessarily right. I don't necessarily want it to be 90 degrees. I might want it to be 0 as the default. Don't rotate the shape at all. But the rotation axis is also something I need to consider. So here, if I hard code 0, 0, 1 as the axis, right? And let's save. Well, that didn't seem to make a difference. Okay. Oh, I did something wrong. This, I didn't redef tube, and now I should do this. and it's wrong. Okay, that's not surprising either. Okay, this is once again a slightly more complicated thing than I remembered, and that's totally fine, but just gotta handle that, you know? Right, so I kind of need this rotate here does rotate it so that it's positioned correctly, except that the rotation, like the pivot along the length of its own extrusion is where things go wrong. And what do I want to do to fix that? Yeah. Because if I do this, I think if I make it 300, 0 like this, I think then it's flat. Oops. So do this. Yeah. So it orients itself correctly when it's not angled at all. But if it's angled, it doesn't, like it, it's out of plane is basically what I'm trying to say. Right, so I forget what this is called, but there's like, this is a thing. Okay, I'm gonna diverge and not worry about this just for a minute. I want to make something that's definitely not gonna work, but it might be fun as a start. So there's extrude along line, but I also now want to make extrude along curve. So sketch and then curve. And here, this is the fun thing. Maybe it's fun. Right, so forge.frep. Sorry, let's def. No. Forge frep. let's do this. SVGCLJ dot. Oh, I did this wrong. Okay. Right, so this curve, let's do let step, we'll hard code it as 0.05. Seems fine, at least for now. And then let's do lines is going to be the result of map range 0 to 1 step. Wait, is that right? Range 0, 1, 0.05. Yeah, close enough. That'll be fine. It's not perfect, but it'll do. So you take that range, you run it through map curve. That gets you a set of points. Partition those sets, that set by 2, 1 to get the set of lines. And then you map, wait, you do, yeah. Map apply model line to each of those, and that gets you your sets of lines. Okay, so now what you do is apply model group to the result of map extrude along line over the set of lines, and that should give you an extrusion along a curve. So let's try that. Def curve tube extrude long curve rectangle tube. Let's do 20 by 30 by 2 again, and then we do A, which is, let's copy that into here just for posterity. Oh, this should not be, wait, what did I do wrong here? Union instead. How's everybody doing? Anyone tuned in who's not been here before and wants to chat and say hi, go right ahead. If you don't want to chat, that's totally cool too. I hope everyone's doing well. That's always the case. I want everyone to be having a good time, or on their way to being okay one way or another. I'm yammering, but I'm getting some work done here. So I'm probably gonna tune the stream out soonish, but I'm in the process of thinking about how I want to conceptualize a planar truss program that can export 2D technical drawings and 3D step files. That's the whole idea here, as a good showcase for parametric software, parametric design tools software with Clojure, and I'm working on this extrude along curve function just to see if I can get something cool going, but I think I messed something up here. So that's the sketch, and then the curve is A. A is a function, right? Yeah. Did I typo something here? What's happening? Extrude along curve. Sketch curve. That's a sketch. Yeah. Why is that wrong? What's happening here? Okay, so sorry, that is, I see, there's something going wrong inside here. Let's see, what did I do wrong? Okay, so that's fine. If I partition to 1, that is, yeah, map, apply, model. Oh, here we go. Forgot to do the percent here. So this should now create a bunch of lines. All right, there we go. Now we're good. So this is not gonna, this will not return a properly formed, this won't work. I want to see, like, I mean, I think it should generate something cool, but it won't be right. Now what? What now? Oh, yeah, here we go. I, once again, am not completing the function call. Sketch line, there we go. That should work now. So, it's wrong, but it's cool. Alright, let's do spit tube.scad that result. Have a look at it. I'm wrong. Okay. There we go. Okay. Right, so what's happened here is, well, there's two things wrong. One, it's not continuous, right? It's discrete straight line extrusions, so that's obviously not good enough. And two, even though it's planar, this is a Bezier curve that doesn't go up or down into the Z plane at all. The rotation orientation itself causes something, it causes it to, like, the normal pivots along as you go. So what I want is, in a planar case, I want the tube to stay oriented along that plane, and I don't have a mechanism for that. I need to figure out how to handle that. So I wonder if I do does look pretty cool, though, I gotta say. It looks nice. I do really like the outcome. It's just not right. It's just not useful in reality, you know? And additionally, because of how it works, there are physical gaps here because it's discontinuous, like I said. There are gaps on the one side and intersections on the other. So it might look okay from a distance with certain rendering characteristics, but it just isn't going to be helpful. Even for some kind of 3D printing scenario, it's just not going to work right. Let's go here, add something to my to-do list here. To do implement extrude along with orientation controls. Basically what I want to do is have a corrective, rotation that turns the tube to reorient along some given orientation, and that's just gonna have to be another day. I have to get going. I want to do a few errands. I want to do a few offline programming challenges and stuff like that. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I'll be back again tomorrow, and I'll be back on Thursday and on Friday. So regular schedule 4 times a week: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Clojure programming is the typical 2D, 3D modeling, SVG animations, that sort of thing is what I typically do. Library work, little side projects. So if you're into any of that, stay tuned. If you want to help me out, you can share this stream and my YouTube channel to other people who might be interested. But that's enough chit chat from me for the day. I am gonna call it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow. Have a good one.